Good afternoon, teacher. We are the group number 2. The members are Dayanara Borja, Carla Cajas, Edison Kayatasic, Daisy Carrillo, and me, Gabriela Cárdenas. So we are going to present the presentation homework about semantic features and selection restrictions. So we have to enjoy, teacher. Thank you. A brief historical overview of discourse analysis. What is discourse analysis? Is the study of language using context, focus on how people produce and interpret text and conversations. Its origins can be traced to multiple disciplines, including linguistics, sociology, anthropology, and philosophy. And point number 1, early foundations. In 1940 to 1960, scholars like Stelling Harris introduced the term discourse analysis in the 1950s, aiming to study language beyond isolated sentences. Meanwhile, philosophers like Austin explore how language performs actions, such as in his theory of speech acts. In the second point, we have sociologists, sociolinguistic and ethnography, 1960 to 1970. Pioneers like Del Jaimes and John Gumpers emphasized the cultural and social aspects of language use. The ethnography of communication emerged as a way to study how language is used in specific communities. Point number 3 is critical discourse analysis, 1980 to 1990. Scholars such as Norman and Theun expanded discourse analysis into the realm of power and ideology, examining how language perpetuates social inequalities. And in the last point, we have modern development to 2000 to the present. Actually now, discourse analysis now integrates digital communication, multimodality, and corpus linguistics, reflecting its broad applicability in fields like media studies, education, and politics. Let's continue about the topic. We have the form and the function. The form refers to the structural elements of discourse, including grammar, syntax, cohesion, and coherence. This includes studying sentence patterns, textual organization, and linguistic markers, like conjunctions and pronouns that create connection within a text. In functions, we have focused on the purpose and impact of discourse, such as how language achieves specific communicative goals, conveys social identity, or influence power dynamics. For example, analyzing how rhetorical devices like metaphors or repetition shape a speech persuasive intent. So the interplay of form and function is central to discourse analysis. While form provides the building blocks of language, function reveals how these elements achieve meaning in a specific context. Thank you, teacher, and let's continue with my partner.
Speech acts and discourses structure. Discourses analysis focuses on the relationship between language and its context of use, highlighting the importance of speech acts, which are the functions that the speaker performs through language. Unlike traditional approaches, which only consider grammatical or lexical form, discourse analysis examines how and why sentence structures are used in specific contexts. Speech acts such as requesting, informing, or asking are understood not only by the words used, but also by what the speaker seeks to achieve. Furthermore, discourses is organized into a structure with a beginning, middle, and end, making it easier to interpret meaning within a context. This approach is key in language teaching, as it allows the students to not only learn the correct form of the language, but also how to interact effectively in real communicative situations, understanding the function behind each expression. For example, in a dialogue, if a person say, "Can you pass me the salt?" They are performing a request speech act, but this act only makes sense if the context of the conversation is understood. For other example, in a television show, if someone say that was amazing, they are performing a reporting speech as they are conveying an emotion or reaction to something they have seen. The scope of discourses analysis. Discourses analysis covers both spoken and writing interaction. It is interested in how words and sentences are organized in a coherent and meaningful way in various contexts, such as a conversation, article, instruction, or advertisement. Its aims is to understand how natural discourse is structured, which allow language teaching to be improved by evaluating materials and methods based on a more accurate understanding of real language. For example, an advertisement on a billboard or a dialogue in an everyday conversation are examples of discourses that follow specific rules and structure in order to be understood correctly.
Hello, teacher. My name is Diana Borja, and I'm going to talk about the spoken discourse models of analysis. Okay, in oral discourse analysis developed at the University of Brigham and Sinclair and Coulthard authors in 1975. Study structures and interactions, especially in classrooms, linking speech acts to broader patterns of discourse. In the classroom, the teacher and the students usually follow a clear pattern when they talk. This pattern consists of three steps. Initiation, basically, the teacher begins by asking a question, providing information, or giving an instruction. For example, the teacher may say, "What do we do with a saw?" Response, the student response, either by taking or doing something. The students might say code fireworks. And a follow up, the teacher reacts to the student's response. He or she may make comments such as saying, "Yes, we could would," to confirm that the response, okay, this is correct. This three-step process basically is initiation, response, and follow-up. Helps keep the lesson organized and ensures that the students learn effectively. This pattern does not apply only to classroom. It can be found in phone calls, in job interviews, and even social interactions with the people. Uh, for example, someone might initiate a phone call with "Hello," okay, is this, I don't know the name, speaking. This other person responds, and then the first person confirms or adds something. Okay, every culture uses this structure differently, and some cultures use different phrases or styles. Okay, uh, but the basic idea of starting responding and based following up is common everywhere. Okay, this is important when apply these models of analysis in business spoken discourse. Thank you. Okay, the conversations outside the classroom. We are exploring how conversations outside the classroom differ from the structured talk we often see in classroom. Okay, in classroom the rules are clear. Teachers ask questions they are already know the answer to, and students respond with limited freedom. And this makes classroom interactions easy to analyze, but not representative of real life conversations. Okay, outside the classroom, conversations can seem less structured, but they still have patterns. A good example is a conversation between Joe, a visiting scholar, and Edward, okay, a lecturer. They have an informal exchange where Joe asks Edward for a favor. B needs Edward credit card number to book cinema tickets. The conversation flows naturally, okay, with multiple steps, but I still follows a structure. For example, Joe initiates the request, Edward responds, and they but acknowledge and follow up. This is an example of how real life conversation often follow the initiation response follow up. In this case, follow up model is similar to the classroom, but with more relaxed roles and more collaborations, and even casual conversations have underlying structures. Um, Joe questions might sound like statements, but Edward interprets them as needing confirmation. Okay, this conversational patterns such as turn taking, acknowledgement, okay, and follow up can be analyzed to better understand communication in language learning, just like in classroom interactions. Uh, this section uh, highlights how discourse analysis can help us understand the completely and complexity of but structure and informal conversations. And it emphasizes that even informal tag has patterns that can be uh, studied and used in language teaching. Thank you so much.
When we talk about talk as a social activity, we are talking about management of discourse, which also talks about like the behavior and cooperation of people. So it means how the people behaves when talking and how they cooperate in order to create the different conversations and how this cooperation influences on this. So, in order to study the management of discourse, there are a group of people, which are the ethnomethodologists. And this group is conformed by sociologists, anthropologists, and psychologists, which study this management of discourse, and they take a look at openings and closings of conversations, turn taking, like this person started first but then the second continued, and how they take turns to continue with the conversation, the topics of what they're talking about, and the engagement and also the motivation during this a whole process of talking. When we talk about the written discourse, we have to keep in mind that there are no spoken transcript problems because the reader doesn't have to deal with intonation or tone of the voice or maybe turn taking. Instead of that, we focus on the grammatical regularities, structuring of sentences, and progression of tests. And all of these has to do with cohesion, coherence, ellipses, and conjunctions. So the cohesion is basically how the words flow into sentences and then in the paragraphs to form a text. Then we have the ellipsis, which is kind of like the signs of punctuation that help to separate an idea from another, or maybe just words from like one word from another word. Then we have the conjunctions, which are also words that get together with more words in order to also separate ideas, but to join ideas and also like separating by contrasting, for example. And finally, the coherence, which is kind of like the adding of all these characteristics that make the text understandable for the reader.
Hello, my name is Daisy Carrillo. In this time, I'm going to talk about the two important topics, text and interpretation are large pattern in text. And text interpretation is a topic that explores the relationship between a reading text and the how people understand or interpret. A text can be any type of reading material, such as a book, article, poem, or letter that contain the word, phrase, and the meaning. Interpretation is the process by the which a person seeks to understand the meaning of the text, but this process is not only uniform. Each reading interpret the text differently as they experience by knowledge, belief, and emotion influences the way they perceive the work. For example, when they're reading a poem, one person may see it as something sad, which will another might interpret as a profound reflection on life. This shows that interpretation can be diverse and each is different and valid from the perspective of the reading. The interpretation of that the text depends not only on the what is reading, but also who is connected to the life, a person context, or the each individual. This ability to find different meaning in the same text may aid reading using. Therefore, text interpretation is a fundamental tool for understanding who work can be effective and be understood in multiple ways. Large pattern in text refer to the broad pattern or structure found which a text beyond the individual words. These patterns include repetition, contrast, and then organization of ideas, and then throughout the text. For example, in a history, a pattern might be for the certain events and the character behavior are the repeated and the hue a character experience and the significant change. This pattern may also reflect a certain theme, such as that the struggle between good and the evil. Identify this pattern in the important because it's the head reading, understand, and the overall message of the text. In addition, this pattern often reveal the author in text, such as in the highlighting and the social issues of the transmitting and emotion. Thank you.